Consumer porn, or the way to save print. That's the argument over hip global magazine Monocle. Unlike many other print offerings, Monocle has only one worldwide edition, and its founder, Tyler Brule, thinks that's one of the secrets of its success. Mr. Brule first savoured success with the design magazine Wallpaper, launched in the 1990s and since sold to Time Warner. He was in Jakarta this week, one of Monocle's fastest growing markets. Tyler Brule, good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you.
To what extent do you think your global financial success has been driven by the explosion of a youngish middle class in Asia?
It's a huge component of what we're doing and also how we're developing our business right now. If I looked at maybe being with our readers in Sydney or being across the sea in Auckland, it's a very, very different profile in Australia versus this market. If you saw the same Monocle crowd in Sydney, it would be predominantly male, predominantly financial services and related sectors. But when you're in these markets, whether you're in Jakarta or Singapore or Thailand, for example, you really have this emerging small to medium enterprise audience. And this is young men and women, and I stress women as well, who are interested in opportunities, brands that they can bring into these markets, and at the same time also, how can they also refine their businesses to take them abroad? So it's a massive part of what we're doing, and this is where we're seeing really, I hate to use the word explosive, but it is explosive growth in this market.
Do you think this is something specific to media, or are there lessons that could be applied to developing business more generally in Asia?
I think it touches everything, and I think one of the most important things is we're in Jakarta today because you need to be present. And I think that this is one of the messages which has not hit San Francisco and maybe hasn't hit Melbourne and certainly hasn't hit a lot of cities in Europe. If you're going to develop your business in this part of the world, trying to do it via a conference call or trying to manage it just digitally is not going to work. I think you need to show true presence. And that goes for businesses, but it also goes for diplomacy as well. I was visiting my fellow countrymen in Ottawa recently and talking to our foreign ministry. And it's amazing how governments think that they can have their diplomats, parachute into market and then of course, be on the next flight out. It's simply not the case. So whether you're running a major global brand or you're also trying to, of course, engage diplomatically, you have to put the time and effort into being here.
Was this always part of your business plan, this focus on the Asia Pacific, or was it something that developed organically?
We've always had a view that we have a reader who might be living in Yogyakarta, they could be living in Darwin, they could be living in Los Angeles. So we've always looked at Monocle having one edition. We do one edition for the whole world. So it doesn't matter whether you pick this up in Turak or you're picking it up in the suburbs of Tokyo, you get one edition. And Asia Pacific for us, from the very beginning, was a big component of building our brand. So, of course, it started 6.5 years ago with a focus, of course, on Singapore, Hong Kong, building up Japan, building up Korea. But again, when we look at sort of ASEAN and what's happening here, it's also been a story of really the last 2 years. And we're in Indonesia today because we kicked off the year having a board meeting saying, where is the magazine growing fastest? And we can talk about another emerging economy. Turkey is one of them, but the two other markets where we're growing fastest are Thailand and Indonesia.
This has worked very well for you over the past decade, but do you see a need as the market becomes even more sophisticated in Asia to change the way you do business, and if so, how?
Well, I think part of it comes down to maybe not just the business point of view, but also news gathering. And since we've launched, we've been present with bureaus in Tokyo and in Hong Kong. So right now we're looking at where do we go next in terms of actually deploying correspondence as permanent as a bureau gig ever is. But will it be here? Will it be in Bangkok? So I come back to that idea of being present and being present editorially. Again, if I looked at our business plan and our editorial plan a few years ago, we were probably thinking it was more important to be in Sao Paulo quicker, or we needed to be maybe even in Sydney. Now we feel that this needs to be probably our next move from an editorial perspective. On the business side, though, we've always been out here. There has to be much greater engagement, of course, on an advertising side, talking to major companies, also governments who are spending a lot of money to promote national brands, also city brands as well. So, but does it change the mix of the magazine or what we do? Maybe a little bit more coverage, but the reader that we're talking to in this part of the world, they also want to see opportunities in Mexico. They want to know what the European political scene looks like, as much as what the media scene might look in North America. So again, I think they want a global view. They don't want it totally remixed. And I don't think that people want to be patronized just and have us talk down to them and say, oh, we're only going to cut an ASEAN edition for you. I don't think that would work.
You've had great success with print, not just in the Asia-Pacific, but worldwide. Is it proving more difficult, though, to make money out of your forays into radio and into video?
I think if we look back 6.5 years ago, we entered the market with a firm commitment to print and really went the other direction. I think if you pick up Monocle, it's a very bookish, collectible edition. We wanted to show readers, if you're going to do print in this market today, it needs to be something you want to hold on to. You want to put it on your bookshelf. You want to come back and revisit it. We also, probably 2 years ago, looked at what were our options in going digital. Should we take this magazine into a backlit format on a tablet? And when we looked at the numbers, we thought we simply couldn't do it. Advertisers weren't there, but I think more importantly, readers weren't asking for it. 2 years on, it's the same situation. And I think we also sort of look at competitors, other people in the market. The numbers, still do not stack up. So we took a view. We could have spent, $500,000, dollars, pounds, euros to invest in a tablet edition. We decided to build 2 radio studios, hire about 15, 20 people, and launch a 24-hour internet-based radio station. And finding that we were able to get that to break even within the first year. And I don't think we could have done that. I know we couldn't have done that just trying to take the magazine digital.
On a different but related front, social media, the flavour of the media month, if I can put it that way. You've been a bit down on the value of social media. I have a quote here. Being available is a little cheap, quote unquote. What's the problem with social media from your point of view as far as the mass media are concerned?
I wish it was only a social media month. I wish it would go away, or at least part of it, Jim. I think a couple of things are at play. I think a number of big media companies are going to look back, whether it's the end of this year or in 18 months' time, and wonder why we put so much promotional value into this company with an F and this other company with a little bird associated with them, when these media companies should have been building up their own brands. And I look at this very commercially. If you are one of the major, other international broadcasters, or you're a major international magazine, I think these companies are finding now that when they go in to talk to a major car company, when they go to talk to a major bank, that they're now competing with these companies that they've helped build up, and that they're promoting nonstop around the clock. So I think there's a bit of a commercial issue there. But I also come back to the nature of the newsroom. I'm not convinced when I see a correspondent sign off and they ask me to follow them on that particular tea brand. Is that really doing something for the network, or is it doing something only for the correspondent? And I think a good editorial floor is about teamwork, and I feel that it slightly just plays into the cult of the correspondent, the anchor, the editor, and not sort of the whole nature of all of those people who go to getting these stories out.
I'm interested to hear you say that, because I do know that with our program, boutique as it is, I do know that social media have increased our reach, in some cases, in some countries, like Malaysia, exponentially.
Absolutely. There's no question that these markets, for a variety of reasons, because they don't also have the traditional public service broadcasting framework. In many ways, of course, social media, the web in general has allowed a number of people to, of course, fast track and get in there in a different way. I think, our view, though, is that, it's just because a piece of technology has been invented, doesn't mean that we necessarily have to jump on the bandwagon right away. And we've just taken a slightly more cautious approach. Though sometimes I feel that, a digital fatwa has been issued against us.
That is a very entertaining way of putting it. Tyler Brule, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.